Hey guys, Michael Furlong here, and I have, on behalf of the Real Estate Resource Group, I have Ron Cohen, Tisha Liner. We've just been talking footy, Ron, but principal at Tisha Liner FC Law, and we're just going to run through a couple of, a bit of an overview. It's interesting times, Ron, interesting times. How are you, my friend?
Yeah, I'm well. Thanks for having me on. I'm looking forward to it. All good.
Excellent. Mate, so maybe we just start off with, particularly in your line of work, and maybe give a bit of an overview of what it is you do, but in your line of work, what's been the biggest challenge this year? I know everyone's been challenged, whether you're in Sydney, even South Australia or Victoria, but what's been the biggest challenge that you or your clients have been facing at the moment?
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, as I said, thanks for having me on, Michael. Always a pleasure to have a chat. So I'm Ron Cohen. I'm a principal, a partner at Tisha Liner FC Law, and my specialty is business and property law. So I think probably the big one, obviously, very much is COVID related. I spent a lot of time last year in the retail leasing space, the commercial and retail leases, where there was rent relief legislation that came in temporarily with COVID. Now, the interesting one this year is that legislation is now terminated after the expiration of JobKeeper at the end of March this year. Yep. But since then, not just Melbourne, but New South Wales, etc., have gone in and out of lockdown. So businesses are still struggling. And the legislation was very much tenant protected last year, where there was a reduction in rent based on the reduction of turnover of a tenant's property, partly waived, partly deferred. Now, the deferred rent was then payable over the remainder of the lease, and the full rent was payable again at the end of the rent relief scheme. So we've now got tenants that are paying full rent, and they're also paying the deferred rent as well, which puts a lot of strain on them. So that's probably a really big challenge. And I think the other one, from a property and real estate point of view, I do a lot of property law. We prepare a lot of contracts of sale for real estate. Is in Melbourne in particular, the mode of sales is auctions, open for inspections. And I've found that agents have had to be a little bit more adaptable, having, for example, online auctions, Zoom, boardroom auctions, where they're only doing 2 or 3 very interested buyers. I prepared a contract for quite a large residential property, and we were going to go to auction on the Saturday, and the government announced lockdown. So the agent got a few interested purchasers, and they had the auction on the Thursday night when we were going into lockdown on Friday. So I think they're sort of the challenges that we're all facing in the real estate and property industry in particular.
I might have actually seen that on Facebook. There was an agent that did that. But it's interesting, isn't it? You can plan as much as you want, but you have to also be adaptable to whatever the circumstances are, because these are parameters that are outside of your control.
Mm-hmm. And I think even things like, for example, leasing, whether it's residential or commercial, if you're a prospective renter, tenant, you want to go in and have a look at the property. And if you can't do that, the agents have to adapt in so far as other methods of showing them through the property online, or video recordings, virtual, and things like that, virtual. For me, I've been either in the office or working from home. So we're still preparing legal documents and having online meetings instead of face-to-face. But it's still not ideal having to chop and change a lot of what we're doing. And the clients are obviously in the same boat as well in all the professional services.
Absolutely. So, Ron, if there was one thing that that people that are listening to this now, or that in the industry, maybe we focused on commercial and residential retail leases, my habit, residential. What's the one thing, I won't say silver bullet, but what's the one thing that they could do in the next, short period, 7, 14, 21 days? What could they do? Is there something that, reaching out to you? Is it reviewing their lease? What's the one thing they could do to try and help them out?
Yeah, I think so. I think, like I said, the legal documents won't change. So it's being adaptable in terms of if it's a contract of sale for the sale of a property, how do you do the sale? If it's for a lease, how would you show a prospective tenant through? But like I said, the legal agreements remain the same. I guess the only other thing maybe, again, for people to think about is how do they get documents executed? And
Sure.
we do a lot of online DocuSign, things like that. That's probably the one I think people have to be flexible in terms of getting the documentation signed, whereas traditionally it was face-to-face. That's no longer the case anymore.
Isn't it interesting how we've moved so quickly? We've moved away from physical signatures being the requirement and then having to get them, endorsed. Whereas now we look at DocuSign and say, okay, that's fine. And there's so many different players in the field. Ron, thank you very much. How do people get in touch with you if they want to? Is it Tishaliner?
Tishaliner FC Law.
Yes.
Website tlfc.com.au, and my name is Ron Cohen. Email address rcohen@tlfc.com.au.
Fantastic, my friend. Thank you very much, and look forward to chatting to you next time on behalf of the Real Estate Resource Group.
Thanks, Michael. Cheers.